in the past, we have assaulted, we have doing a war to survive our vulnerable place. We have survived in our vulnerable area, especially for in Gaza Strip. But now it's time for us to be independent. We admit that we are defeated from the Israel. We admit we need to become independent nations. But before that, several steps coming from opening government, we would like to exchange Gaza Strip and come back in the independent nations. But before that, but as Palestinian Authority, first of all, we don't want Israel disturbing our law and policy making that we implemented. Even if you are to become in Gaza Strip, get our position, get our vulnerable area, but at least you don't have a right to choose to become in the parliament, for example, or to be joined in election, ladies and gentlemen. So therefore, it's not your right to become. Israel didn't have a right to you to join in our policy making that is in Palestine. Second of all, we don't want the Palestinian society to work in Israel and Gaza Strip because we want to prevent any kind of social distractions about this Israel and Palestine because we don't want to make a bad attitude anymore. We don't want to make bad imaging from the each Palestinian and Israel. Therefore, we still give your position, we still give your place, but we still give divided about Israel and Palestinians. First of all, the question is why Palestinian Authority it is justified? Ladies and gentlemen, we think that Palestinians, they have a right to determine their policies. They have a right to determine which one is to become a leader, which one is to become join in parliament or elections. So why we said it like that? Because of we want to prevent any kind of huge war or contradicted each other. Therefore, and also we cannot make a good independence. Therefore, we want to independence, but we want to become independent anymore by need a supporting system from the West country, the West Bank. Therefore, if you only rely on Israel, if you only rely on Israel and or Israel will accept us, we think that it is not enough. Why? Because of the lack of supporting and admitted from another country. We cannot sustain because of there is not attention in West country, because of in West country is more give attention, is more give supporting protection in Israel rather than in Palestine. Even if we have a Hamas, even if we are a Hamas or any kind of military and so on and so enough.
The entire argument coming from opening government is that they would like to independence because they would like to make this Palestinian create their own policy, and second, they would like to get support from the Western countries. The question would be, first, why there is no process and explanation why by let go Gaza and independence in West Bank, this Palestinian will get support from the Western country, right, ladies and gentlemen? The fact that in the status quo right now that Western countries such as USA, for example, are still support the Israel itself because they have a good bilateral relation, for example, and so on and so forth. So I think at the moment, but precisely by Israel have Gaza itself, I think that the bilateral relations among Israel and Western country will be much better. So I think that the Western country will less likely to support you because they are going to continue their bilateral, such as like in economic, in political, and so on and so forth, right? So there is no guarantee, there's no incentive why Western country will support you. Further rebuttal will integrate in my speech. First, argument is that which one will create the betterment of Palestinians. So let's begin. I will explain to you why by let go Gaza, first it will not create the progressive of Palestinian, but precisely it will create harms even further. So let's begin with the by let's go the Gaza itself, ladies and gentlemen. What we need to understand that what happened in Palestinian, right? There is a segmentation of Palestinians, such as like even in parliament, for example, such as like there is a movement Fatah and Hamas, for example, and so on and so forth. So the question would be, who are going to deal with this political agenda? It's going to the parliament itself, and also it's going to be such as like only one sector, such as like Fatah, because Fatah, in the first place, they are would like to deal with the Israel itself, right, ladies and gentlemen? So I think it will create that the internal problems inside of Palestinians even further. Why? Because I think that Hamas will not keep silent, ladies and gentlemen. Hamas will not take it for granted that what you are built in the first place. But I think that Hamas will fight back to the internal itself and also to the externals. Why? Because they think that they are betrayed, that what they are fight in the past, right, ladies and gentlemen. They have been sacrificed many things. There are so many victims to fight for the Palestinian land, and at the end of the day, you are led Israel to authorize this land, ladies and gentlemen. So Hamas will think that you are betray them, ladies and gentlemen, and then that inside internal problems, and it will be harms. Why? Because, for example, that Hamas will doing the radicals and brutality, for example, inside of Palestinian, for example, and so on and so forth. So the harms is that first, that your society will not live secure, right, ladies and gentlemen. They still live in security because there is inside problem in Palestine. But second, your power will significantly weak, ladies and gentlemen. Because the reason why Palestinians sustain or survive is because they have internal the unity, and they have the stronger internal right, ladies and gentlemen. They fight for Israel, and also they such as like get international support and so on, so far, ladies and gentlemen. But those kind of things will not happen by let this Gaza go, ladies and gentlemen, because the internal will be happen. So what going to be happen? The progressive will not there, because what Parliament of Palestine will focus, even they authorize West Bank, is not such as like improve the economic and so on so far, because what they are focused is to solve their internal problems in the first place, right, ladies and gentlemen. So the progressivity that what government want to defend will not happen anymore, ladies and gentlemen, because they're focused in how to solve their internal problems rather than improvement such as like build international relations or improve the economic and so on so far, right, ladies and gentlemen. That's the first problem. But the second problem is that the external itself, because I think that Gaza not only division, Hamas not only create division in internal, but also in external, right, ladies and gentlemen. Because I think that you have this at the purple place in political agenda, for example, but at the end of the day, that Hamas will still attack the Israel civilians, for example, the Israel soldiers, so ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be more harsh, because it seems like you broke the rules, so ladies and gentlemen, because you have this at the purple place, but at the end of the day, that Hamas certain movement in your country still attacks Israel, Palestine, for example, Israel, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be harsh, because it will strengthening the power of Israel to attack you back, because they are justified, because you are already break the rules at the purple place, so they are going to justify to attack you more, ladies and gentlemen. So to attack you more and so on, so far. That is the problem that going to happen. Then progressivity of Palestinian will not die. So in comparison on the other side, why we think that we fight for the, why we think that we would like to defend the status quo, we fight for to preserve our land, even Gaza and West Bank. Because first, why the progressivity will be there? What we need to understand, the status is already progress, ladies and gentlemen. The improvement of progressivity people in Israel, for example, who will be in parliament, for example, and who represent in be representative in Israel parliament, for example, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be better under rules of the House. Why? Because I think in terms of creating policy, for example, it will not going to really, but it's going to be progressive and it's not going to really bad for the Palestinian itself because the improvement of progressivity, right, ladies and gentlemen. So I think that the policy will going to much better. But secondly, under rest of the House, we still, even if we are occupied or colonized by the Israel and the policy will not be good, I think that's still okay. First, at least we can unite in international Palestinian that we still stronger to fight back. And second, we live in a dignity, ladies and gentlemen, because we fight for this land because there is the spiritual needs that they already exist in my holy books and so on so forth. So even if you are live in security, even if you are die, at least we are die in the dignity because we are fight for our rights and we are fight for our spiritual and fulfillments. Thank you.